Hello! What you're about to hear is the aftermath of mine and Darren's experience with the controversial film known as The Rise of Skywalker. It's been a number of years since this original recording, but by and large, mine and Darren's opinions haven't changed much. They may be more defined or fine-tuned, but not too different in their content. That being said, if you haven't listened to our pre-Rise of Skywalker episode, I invite you to give that a listen first, as it will give the whole discussion a little more context. Plus, it's just fun looking at our predictions before our actual viewing. However, it's not necessary in order to enjoy this episode. So do as you please. But for now, on with another riveting episode of Rice and Spice.
Hi, welcome to Rice and Spice. It's the podcast where we talk about whatever, pop culture, movies, something like that. My name is Darren, and I'm here with Levi. Say hi, Levi.
What's up, everybody?
Okay, and let's go ahead and discuss today's topic, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. So, I want to get your thoughts on it, Levi. Tell me a little bit about when did you see it, and what was just your general overall opinion of it?
All right, so I actually saw it twice. The first time I saw it last Friday. And the first time I watched it, I was like giddier than a schoolgirl. I had a few imperfections, but I loved everything about it, like all the Star Wars stuff. I was just enamored by it. And then I saw it a second time a couple days later with my little brother, and I still overall really liked it. But the flaws of the movie very much stuck out to me. And then the more I thought about it, the more certain things, those imperfections were really, really bothering me.
Yeah.
In certain ways. But
Okay.
yeah, so that's where I'm kind of at right now.
And would you overall recommend the film? Would you overall say it's a good film for Star Wars, a bad film for Star Wars? What would just be kind of like your overarching kind of seal of approval or seal of dissatisfaction?
I would say overall, it's a good Star Wars film. It's one of the most Star Wars film to ever Star Wars in the Star Wars universe. So I'd recommend it to anyone. Despite its imperfections,
Okay.
I'd recommend it to anybody.
Okay, the most Star Wars-y of the Star Wars, I guess. Okay, well, my opinion is pretty different. I would say that overall, I would recommend the film. I was fairly happy with the film, but I do not really enjoy it from a Star Wars perspective. I only enjoyed it from kind of just a action blockbuster movie-goer kind of perspective. That was my take on it. But we can get into more detail about that.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and talk about what we like, right? What do you like about the film? What do you like?
What I like about it, I thought the action set pieces were, for the most part, all done extremely well. The flying stormtroopers we're doing spoilers, I assume.
Oh, that's a good question. How about this? We'll try to do it. Let's just do spoilers. Like, who cares?
Okay. All right, for anyone listening, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Flying stormtroopers. Even though I already said that. Yeah, I love the flying.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, big spoiler. No, I love the flying stormtroopers. The movie is filmed very well. Everything looks gorgeous. It looks beautiful. From a technical standpoint, I think this movie is definitely a triumph. And the lightsaber duels are fun. And they do some really cool things with the Force in this movie. We'll get a little bit more into that later, but overall I think some advancements on like the Sith religion and what's capable with the Force are highlighted very well, and I really dig that. And then certain character moments are, for certain people, are done extremely well. And I think overall that's what I really enjoyed about it. And some of the fan service. And we'll get into that later. But yeah, some of the fan service was pretty cool. But how about you, man?
Yeah, when I close my eyes and I cover my ears and I think about all the things that I saw and experienced in the film, the thing that pops out to me is Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, Adam Driver. Like, that character just keeps coming back to me. And specifically his scene with Han Solo. That was probably the big one for me. Also, another scene that really stands out to me is Babu or Bobby.
Babu Freight? Is that his name?
Babu Freak.
Oh, Freak.
Babu Freak.
He's just so delightful.
Yeah, I like Babu Freak. Babu Freak and Adam Driver really did it for me. And anything else that really stood out to me? I like the Death Star scenes for the most part. They definitely went to the second Death Star. That's where Kylo and Rey had their kind of big confrontation, right? So
yeah,
that scene. I thought that kind of entire scene, that was probably the strongest part of the movie for me. So, yeah. Oh, and also, last thing that I really like was when Ben Solo is running to save Rey, and he jumps, and then he like jumps onto this big chain thing, and he says "ow" or like "oof" or something. He's like "oof" or "ow," and I was just like, huh.
Every time I see that, I'm like, oh shit! Like, oh, that like it hurt really bad. Just cracks.
It was a big jump.
Cracks his whole chest on it, full force, man.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Oh god.
Oh yeah. So I like those things. Those were the things I liked. Anything you want to say about the things that I liked? Any comments on the things that I've listed off so far?
Kylo Ren kicked ass this movie. Adam Driver knocked it out of the park. Every scene he's in, I totally believe him. He's acting his ass off. And I totally agree with you on the middle section of the movie. The whole Death Star sequence, the lightsaber battle with Rey, him and Han Solo's brief moment, which very harkened back to The Force Awakens. Harrison Ford came to play. He didn't have much to do in this movie. It was such a short thing, but he nailed it, and it really sold that moment between him and his son. It was touching. And I know we have a point of contention, but I would still hold that the whole spoilers, death of Leia, part of it in that centerpiece, still works very well for me. It's like I don't envy the people who had to try to make that work. I think given the circumstances, I think they pulled off something quite beautiful. Down to R2-D2 doing his little whine, and then Chewie, crying because like one of his last friends alive is dead, and it's heart wrenching, and like even the final words of "Goodbye, Princess," that hit me personally. I know you have a slightly different opinion. It's okay. No, you're allowed to have that. But yeah, man, I think the only thing I would add to the things I like is I thought Poe was fantastic. I thought he was funny. He was charismatic. I loved watching him on screen every time he was there. He had a full arc, unlike some other characters, which we'll get to later. And yeah, he stole the show. Of the main three cast members, I thought he stole the show more than the other two. And then just the chemistry between the main three actually was. I wish we would have gotten it sooner, but we got it this movie, and it was really good. It was really, really good, and I think that's the only other things I would add to that.
Okay. Yeah. Nothing to add there. So let's just kind of quickly talk about the big plot twists that happen, right? The big plot points.
Oh yes, of course.
So I think the first thing we have to talk about, Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter. Tell me, did you see it coming?
Did I see it coming? I actually didn't. If I would give it more thought, I might have. But I have to admit, when it happened, when they revealed, you're Palpatine's granddaughter, I have to say I felt nothing. I wasn't excited. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't like, oh, that's badass. It was just kind of like a thing that they just threw at the audience. For me personally, however, when it happened, I was like, okay, let's see what they do with this. Let's see if they can do something interesting with this going forward, which we'll talk more about later. But so the twist to me was a little weak, personally. But yeah, how about you?
I didn't like it very much. Not necessarily because I thought it was a bad plot point, just that I didn't feel like there was much investment for me in the character of Rey. And it never felt like she ever knew Palpatine, so it was kind of just sort of thrown in there. It felt like it was really thrown thrown into the script real quick. Like, she's Palpatine's daughter, or she's Palpatine's granddaughter. Just have at it, right? It kind of felt rushed.
Yeah, it did. It very much felt like that, which is a shame, because I mean, they baited it, pretty early on, but I really did want her to be a nobody. So I guess it was a little disappointment there when they committed to it.
I think what I really didn't like about it was just how in the last movie they talked about how your parents were nobody. And then in this movie, they're like, yeah, your parents are nobody, but your grandpa, he's somebody.
Now that guy's somebody.
And that was like, okay, thanks, JJ.
And now I think like we're getting a little into like things we didn't like with the movie, but like the whole plot point of your parents are nobody, but your grandpa is somebody. That means, and I think it's like it's Emperor Palpatine's son. That's the person who's related to him, and then obviously Rey afterwards. But like, if you're Emperor Palpatine's son, no matter how much you say, or you choose to say you're a nobody, you're definitely somebody in the universe. You're definitely someone of importance, even if you choose like lay low. You're the son of the most evil son of a bitch to ever exist.
Right.
And yeah, so like I saw like they were trying to still salvage that message from the last movie, but that didn't. It just doesn't track.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at like I don't know, like President Trump's daughter, right? She's kind of somebody now just because she's related. Like, she's the daughter, and he also has a son. I think he has a son. Actually, I'm not 100% sure. Does Donald Trump have a son?
He has two sons, one of which is of very little note, but he's still of note. It's just very little.
See, that's what I'm saying. Okay, well, I guess that kind of takes us to the second kind of big spoiler, which is Palpatine makes his return. I don't think it's much of a spoiler, honestly, but if you really didn't know it was coming,
I don't know, man. It was like the laugh was in the trailer at the very end of the trailer. They announced it, which I think was a mistake. And not because like right off the top they say like the dead speak, the Emperor has returned. You could have at least built up some tension with it a little bit for the characters, because if the characters are feeling tense, there's a better chance that that the audience will feel tense. Even if they know what the twist is, they can at least go on that journey with them. And there's also that sort of there's that thing of like the audience knows something that the characters don't. And it kind of puts you in a little bit of suspense because you're kind of weighing like, how are these people going to react when they figure out it's the Emperor, something like that. But they didn't really. They just kind of just said, "Boom, he's here," and then you're off to the races.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like what the thing where you said like the audience knows something but the characters don't. I think that's called a dramatic irony.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Look at
Yeah.
you with that literary term. Look at you, man.
Well, anyway, I think it was only like a minute or two before he was actually like in the movie. Like, it was the rolling credits, or the opening credits, right? Like the
crawl.
the screen roll, the screen crawl. That's right, the screen crawl. And then like a minute or two, and then you see Palpatine. And that's how quick it was. Like, he's here.
Yeah, no build up, like whatsoever.
You're just like, there he is. And even like when they introduce him as a character, it's not really that interesting. It kind of feels like one of those 80s specials, or what's that show called? Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's like a 90s, scary kids show. It's like a lot of lightning and stuff, and it really is, because there's like lightning and there's flashes of light, and his face is like half shadow, half light, and like flashes, and so it just felt very, very B movie when they introduced Palpatine. I was kind of like, oh, this is not doing it for me. This is not scary or intense. It's just kind of boring. Just kind of.
I don't know the actor's name. I thought like
Ian
McDermott. That's what that's my brain wants to say, but I don't know if that's correct. But
I'll look it up in a second.
But Ian, so my boy Ian, so like, you know, everything else aside, I actually thought for me personally, I thought he did well. I thought he came there, he did the job he was supposed to do, he hammed it up, he was delightfully evil, but I thought like he did a good job. He came there, he sold his performance for me, and he did what he had to do. But I do agree that, I wish I didn't think about it before, it is very Are You the Dark-esque with like the constant flashes of lightning and all that. But that doesn't bother me too much, you know. It does set a precedent, like, this man is evil.
His name is Ian McDermott.
Yeah, I was right. Ian McDermott.
Yeah. So, okay. I think Palpatine, this is the first time that we're seeing Palpatine in the sequel trilogy.
Yes.
7, 8, 9.
Yes.
So this could be the very first introduction of Palpatine to a lot of young viewers, or even older viewers who have never watched Star Wars before, right?
This is true.
In the way that, I don't know if you remember the first time you saw Darth Vader, but it's not like he has to be in... Could you imagine Darth Vader, like, with all the lightning and all the smoke, like the dry ice, and he's talking in memes? Like, the very first thing he says is, you know, some would consider this power is very unnatural. Like, oh gosh, like, that's just so, it's cheesy, but I think cheesy in a bad way. It's trying to be campy, but not campy enough, right? Whereas, you know, Darth Vader, like, you have the Imperial March, that music. There's no good music, I feel, for the sequels, for the sequel trilogy. At least nothing new, right? All the good music is the stuff that we've already heard a lot before, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like all the big music swells are all, it's like Binary Sunset for Luke, or Princess Leia's theme, all these familiar fight songs we've heard before, like fight scores, I should say. So yeah, there's no piece of music I remember like, oh, that's just cool. Like that hits me like in a Star Wars way that's completely original to these three movies.
Let's talk about the big death in the movie, or two big deaths. Both Leia and Ben Solo die in this film. So the Solo family is officially kaput. What do you think of this?
So, like, as far as Leia's deaths go, you know, given like she was the actress, you know, Carrie Fisher was dead before this started. You know, I think they gave her one of the best send-offs as they could. I know we had a discussion before, and we thought of like some other things that they probably could have done, but I think, given the movie they were trying to make and trying to figure out how to pay tribute to this character while still giving her a meaningful thing to do in the movie and a very powerful moment, I thought they did that service. I thought they accomplished that pretty damn well. And then as far as Ben Solo, his death is concerned, I liked his death in concept. I think it was soiled just very slightly by two things. The sort of, I mean, you could argue, but the unearned kiss, I would say, at the end, and then like he just all of a sudden just kind of falls back and he dies, and like there's no real change to him. He's not coughing. Before the fall's even finished, he's already disappearing. And I always thought, that cat's like, let that marinate a bit, man. And which is a common theme that we'll kind of talk on probably a little bit more later. But yeah, like that's how I kind of feel it. But I thought the way he died, though, the concept of it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I guess you know, similar to how the kiss was kind of sudden and not necessarily unexpected, but just a little bit felt kind of rushed.
Yeah, a little forced, a little bit.
Yeah, his death is also the same. That whole scene, right? The kiss felt kind of forced and kind of like it happened a bit too quickly, and then the death felt kind of forced and happened a bit too quickly, right? And I personally was laughing in the theater when he died. I when he fell over, I started laughing because in my head what I thought was gonna happen was Rey was gonna use her force powers to try and revive him, right? And then after she revives him, then she dies, and then Ben would try to revive her.
They just go back and forth.
They just go back and forth until somebody shows up, and they're like, "Yo, stop! One of you gotta
One
stop."
of you has
and maybe
to
it's like Ben. Or just revive Palpatine. I mean, it kind of felt like they said, "Oh, we kind of need a romance in this movie," because one thing that this movie really lacks that other Star Wars trilogies have is romance, I feel. Right? They tried to build it up a bit with Finn and Rey, and they tried to build it also with like Finn and Rose and Poe and Daft Punk girl. I don't remember her name. Do you remember her name? Let me look it up.
I don't remember. You look it up. I don't remember her name. But I'll actually say, in terms of all the romances, the one that actually works the best is Poe and the Daft Punk girl. I totally bought their history, their friendship, and then like that little look he gives her at the end, implying that they've done something before, but she's like, nah, not this time, not doing it this time. I wish we would have gotten to see more of her, of what she can do on her own, She's there just to kind of service Poe's character, more than anything, and what Poe's doing. But she, I mean, once again, potential that can't.
And I think, I think this kind of leads into the big problem that I have with the film, and I think that's just that the film is very non-committal, if that makes any sense. Like, for example, what you're talking about with the romances. It feels like the movies initially wanted to kind of push Finn and Rey, and then they said, no, that's not going to be a thing. Never mind. We're not going to commit to that. And then they kind of felt like, oh, maybe Finn and Rose, that'll be a thing. And they're like, no, never mind. We're not going to go with that. And then now it's like, oh, well, how about Rey and Kylo? Rey and Ben? And like, okay, we can kind of do that, but then we'll kill him off. So then that doesn't really happen either. And it's like, okay, well, why don't you just commit to something? Like, it just feels like you're never committing to something. And not just the romances, but also other plot points, like when Chewie is supposedly dead, but then he's not, and then when C-3PO's memory is supposedly wiped, but then it's not, or just like there's many different times where the movie just feels like it's going back on itself. So I think that's like the big problem that's like slapping me in the face, just saying like I'm not willing to commit to anything. That's what this movie tells me. That's what it's screaming in my face. Yeah.
No,
What about you?
I totally buy that. I will say, in the movie's defense and in J.J. Abrams' defense, the challenge that needed to be met here was astronomical, and overall, I think they succeeded. But yeah, like if you look at the previous movies, like C-3PO is shot and blown up. And they let that marinate for a while. They're like, where's C-3PO? And no one knows. It isn't until later when Chewie finds him and he has to collect the parts before he's melted. And then even when he's trying to fix him, he can't seem to fix him. So they really let you live with the reality that C-3PO might be gone. In this one, he gets his memory wiped, he dies, essentially. And then you don't really see him. He's inconsequential for a while, and then eventually he sees R2 again and just his memory's back, and then he's there. But it's also because the movie has to move so fast. So great concepts, great ideas, but just once again not given enough time to marinate.
For me, the film itself, as a Star Wars episode, it's pretty flat. It falls pretty flat for me. There's a scene where Palpatine blows up a planet, right? He blows up the planet where Daft Punk girl lives, right?
Yeah.
Um, and when that happened, I like didn't even care. It was so it was so bland and done before and kind of expected. Like he had already done this
Well, that's the thing.
in the last.
Yeah, that's the thing with this movie. It's like there's a lot of things that are just like the greatest hits. You know, they blow up one planet.
Yeah.
You know, they don't
Not
and
not
those
four.
and those guns aren't fired. If I recall, they're not fired anymore in any capacity at all.
Nope.
So like you
Nope.
don't really get to feel the threat of that. Um, if I was to look at this from the perspective of someone who had never seen one of these movies before, I could see myself thinking it was one of the coolest, most inventive things ever. Especially if I was a child, you know. But I just think where it lacks is that for an adults, fans who have been here before, you can be satisfied with what's there. Some people are pretty hype about it, but you can be satisfied with what's here. But there's just nothing new for you, and I think that's where this movie fails. I think in a big way.
even for even for new fans, I feel like there's so many different ways that they could have done like a because basically like Palpatine decides to show how powerful his army is, right? And blow up another planet. But they did something similar in the prequel trilogy where they decided to show off how powerful the clone army was, right? And they had that whole scene on that arena planet. I forget the name of the arena planet. Do you know the name of that arena planet?
I know what you're talking about, where they had
I-
like those monsters that were gonna kill.
Yeah, the gladiator monsters and
Yeah.
all that, right? But anyway, like that scene was basically like showing off how powerful this clone army was. And they did it they didn't have to blow up any, planets, right? It was actually a lot more exciting than that because you got to see like this whole army get mobilized and you got to see like these like transport carriers flying in and gunning down all those baddies, right? And then the droid army rolls out and they have the new droids, the super droids, right, that can actually like walk and kind of shoot and aren't just completely useless.
Yeah.
So I understand that it is kind of exciting for a kid, sure, but I think it's really lazy on the part of the writers of this film, the writers of Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, to just take exactly what we've already seen before like 100 times and just do it again, right? I mean, in general, I just find it lazy, Even like the way that Palpatine dies, it feels lazy, right? Like the last fight scene, he's shooting her with lightning. Palpatine is shooting Rey with lightning. He's all juiced up, and Rey pulls out another lightsaber, and she gets all the force powers from all the other Jedi, and then she reflects the lightning back into Palpatine, and then he dies. It's just great. It just never felt very exciting to me.
Yeah.
It felt like a very flat note.
It didn't feel very epic. I think for younger kids, they're gonna think it's a really badass moment, and in some ways, it is. It
is a badass moment.
It is a badass moment. But once again, I felt like they could have delivered a little bit harder on it because, like, did I want the movie to end like that, fight to end like that? Not really. Okay, but okay, you're gonna go this route, shooting lightning, hitting back with the double lightsaber is gonna blast lightning back. Okay, then make me care a bit more. Then make me feel like Rey might lose that fight. And then when she falls over and dies, you believe, like, man, she is spent. Man, she fried her hand. Man, her hair caught on fire. Man, she fucked up her knee. But it's just like she just saunters up, pushes her swords. Sorry, her lightsabers. I apologize. And then the Emperor just obliterates himself. And you think he would have learned last time when he did this with Mace Windu that he would not do this again, but he's just like, yeah, more lightning, and then it just hits him in the face and it kills him. But
I don't know. Who do you think this movie is for? Do you think this movie is for who do you think this movie is for? Because I honestly don't know. Like, who is J.J. Abrams trying to make this movie for? Is he trying to make it for himself? Is this the movie that he wants? Is this the Star Wars movie that he really truly wants? If so, then I sincerely question J.J. Abrams and his vision for Star Wars. But like what was the point of this movie? Who is this movie for?
In regards to JJ, I think this is a version of the movie he wanted, but given a number of different factors, is just the way it came out. But in terms of audience, this is for the fans. The fan base who wants to see things that are Star Wars familiar. So like The Force Awakens, I think nailed it in its delivery. It had very similar story beats, yes, but there was enough different there to make you think like the universe was expanding a bit. But people who wanted to see more, wanted to see some new stuff. They got The Last Jedi, and then they ran into this run. Okay, what do we do? Because a lot of people really hated The Last Jedi. But to their credit, they did do some new stuff. They did do some new stuff, some evolution of Force powers, the Sith religion, a little bit more there. But as much as I enjoyed that advancement of those parts, they don't affect the story that much. But they're cool moments for sure, and they're cool information, but it doesn't affect the story.
I have a hard time. I don't think this movie is trying to break any new ground. I think that they have a platform here with these films to really take these Star Wars movies and the Star Wars legacy, or rather the Star Wars saga, and push it in new directions. But everything I'm seeing here is saying, no, we're not going in a new direction. We're going to keep taking what already worked and keep building on that. Like, for example, literally the ending of the film, Rey takes on the name Skywalker. So she is taking what worked in the past and she is grafting it onto the new thing and saying, here you go. Here's the thing that is new, quote unquote, but it's really just the old thing. It's still just the Skywalker as a Jedi. Like, it just feels as if they're taking all the old things that work and just milking it and saying, yeah, more Skywalkers, more Palpatine, more C-3PO, more old stuff that everyone loves, less Finn, less Rose, less Poe, less of everything that people are, 50-50 on, right? Or maybe less than 50-50. But yeah, that's just how I'm starting to feel about it. It just feels like this is not a movie that's trying to break new ground or do anything exciting. It's just a movie that's trying to make a big blockbuster. And that's fine. I'm happy with blockbusters. I like the movie. I just don't think it's a good Star Wars movie.
I think it's a good Star Wars movie in the sense that it does Star Wars things. Like these things that we've come to know as Star Wars tropes, and it has these familiar story beats that do work. The story beats do work. To us, they're very weak because we've seen them before. But it's like someone who's new to this, and maybe this is like their first time through the trilogy. To them, this stuff might be really cool, especially to younger kids. So in all those ways, it succeeds. But then again, and this is I think where I kind of settle on the movie is that although I'm really happy with the movie in many ways and I enjoyed it, I don't want this to be the standard. I don't think it's any good to stay complacent with just this. So if the people who know Star Wars and like this movie, if they think that this was fantastic and this is what they should do all the time, that gives me pause and concern. I hope that's not the case. Because I do want to see newer things. They had so many chances going off of The Last Jedi, and in this movie itself, many plot points, many great moments. I was like, this is new, or oh, this is cool, or this is bold. Let's run with this. And they either take it back real fast, or they change it real quick. So like what happened before was inconsequential. And they just kind of cower and just kind of say, okay, let's just do what's easy. So I just have a weird relationship with this movie. Like, I love it so much, and I'm frustrated with it so much, all at once. and it's a very surreal thing.
For me, the thing that I like the most about the movie is the moment when they connect it to the first movie, or not the first movie, the seventh episode, right, Force Awakens, when they basically replay the scene of Ben Solo and Han Solo talking, and it's I don't know if it's word for word, but it feels like it's
It's
verbatim,
pretty
word
close.
for
It's
word,
pretty close.
right? That scene, because like that moment actually kind of really gripped me because I could relate to it from the first time that I saw it, and the struggle that Ben Solo was going through, and the decision that he made to kill his father, now compared to the decision that he makes to abandon the dark side, right? And that's why that scene works so well for me, because there was weight to it, not just from within the movie context, because that scene just by itself is still a good scene, but also from the fact that it was like he's replaying that memory, and that's what it was. He was replaying that memory from the very first time that we met these characters, right? And I think that was the moment that I felt was the most Star Warsy, in the sense that there was this saga, there was this kind of this story that is bigger than any of the characters, right? That's when I felt like, oh yeah, this is what Star Wars is all about, right? Like this story of family issues, father and son trying to find like your place in the world and your place in the Force, right? Like, other than that, it never felt to me like this sequel trilogy had much to offer in terms of larger arcing storylines, because all of the arcing storylines that we like, to go to your point, like how they were thrown away, like think about Snoke was supposed to be kind of like this big character. He dies, and I think we were all kind of hoping for this payoff, like why did he die so easily? Was there something more to that? And the answer is no. They were just like, no, he's a test tube baby. He's a test tube baby made by Palpatine, right? And that just felt cheap. It was just like, oh, okay, thanks for throwing away that idea. That could have been interesting. And then, all these, like, where does the First Order come from? Well, they don't really answer it. They just kind of make it sound like Palpatine has a lot of money, right? Like, it just feels so... It feels dumb. That's the word that I have for it. It feels dumb. Like they're just throwing things away. Yeah. So, that's why I don't like the movie.
I would say in defense of the movie, because I'll play devil's advocate all day because I love it. In defense of the movie, in terms of character arcs, it does succeed there. Like Rey, I'm not saying like it was executed the best at all times, but I'm just saying it does succeed at fulfilling pretty much everyone's character arc. Like Rey, she has that line in the very first movie where someone says, "Who are you?" "I'm no one." And by the end, at the end, she has an identity. She says, "I'm Rey Skywalker." Whether you like that or not, she completes the character arc. And even through that movie, she's like, everyone keeps trying to tell me they know me, but they don't. And she figures that out. Kylo's is easily the most fulfilled, as you just eloquently put. So I'm not going to go too much into that. Finn's character arc was finished in the second movie. This one, they explored parts of his character a little bit, but didn't really go anywhere with it. And then Poe's character is completed from start to finish. He starts a hotshot pilot, gets told that he has the potential to become a leader, but he's scared to do it, and then he becomes that leader. So in terms of characters, they serviced all their arcs. But I agree. Like, it's just in terms of like just this overall bigger story is just the biggest part where it just flops really hard. So it just makes it so these movies don't feel connected. But a side thing I will say to the Snoke thing, Kylo killing Snoke was a great moment for his character, even if everyone didn't like it. But when we discuss those movies, we'll get to that later.
Okay. Last question then would just be, where does Star Wars go from here? Right? What happens next in the Star Wars universe? What happens with Disney now that they've kind of completed this trilogy? right? What do you think is going to happen?
See, like the thing is, because I watch a lot. I just subscribe to a lot of movie news. So like, obviously, Star Wars catches my ear a lot. I've heard discussions how they thought about like kind of like MCUing it up. There's talks of doing more standalone single stories, which some people are interested in, some people aren't. And there's some people talking about trying to get rid of the 3-movie structure, which, I mean, it could be interesting, but I don't think that's a good idea either, because that's one of the big things that makes Star Wars Star Wars. Just make 3 solid movies that connect to each other, and then it's not a problem. But I think where you go from this is... But it's really hard to say. This is a hard question, man. This is a really hard question. Part of me feels like, you fast forward the clock, further into the future so that, like, you can tell fresh stories with new characters, a new established order of some kind. There's more Jedi at that point roaming around, and possibly some new Sith people who were inspired by the Emperor's return. Or if you want to really rehash it, you can say the Emperor has another clone stored somewhere. I hope that doesn't happen.
Okay. I guess, everything you said there makes sense. But I think for me, I would really want to see Star Wars go way back. Like Knights of the Old Republic. Like when there were a ton of Jedi. Okay. Like even before the prequels. Because the prequels... That was kind of when the Jedi Council was sort of at their weakest. Maybe not their weakest, but they definitely had changed a lot, right? That Jedi Council with Yoda and all that. So I'm talking about like a Jedi Council that doesn't even have Yoda, right? Way, way back. And we can kind of explore maybe like Darth Sidious's origins, perhaps, right? That would be kind of interesting. Get to learn a little bit more about Palpatine and how did he become like this powerful Sith Lord. Right? That would be actually a pretty cool trilogy, right? To see the rise of Palpatine, and then you can end the movie with like him becoming appointed as like Senator of Naboo, all right, or something. What is he? He was the Chancellor, High Chancellor of Naboo.
Yeah.
So, I kind of like that idea, kind of like a prequel trilogy.
I think though, like what you're talking about, like not the Emperor Palpatine stuff, but like the Knights of the Old Republic stuff. I think what's cool about that idea is that because it takes place so far in the past that it doesn't really have to adhere to anything that's already been made. You can literally just either pick storylines off the games, or you can just do a completely original thing, do whatever you want. And because it's older, you can actually do an exploration of newer force powers, because it's kind of hinted at that a bunch of force powers were kind of lost, when like the Sith and the Jedi both kind of dwindled in number, so you can kind of explore like certain things that some people were able to do, and how the orders were established, how they changed and evolved, and then you can always, just you get that juicy lore, like stories like these old, great warriors, generals, inquisitors, things like that, and then you can always put in a bunch of fan service, in certain ways, to the games and to like things spoken about. So I think there is.
I can't wait.
There's a lot of potential there, and there's more. I would say there's more certainty there. Like you can hit I think an easier home run with that than going towards the future, because between those two, the future, I really don't know like how to draft something completely original, because now you're not playing off the original movies anymore. You're playing off just like completely untilted ground. Like you're building off of nothing. But Knights of the Republic, that's a strong foundation. But
yeah, and I think that would be easier for Disney for sure. I can't wait for them to do the Knights of the Old Republic style Death Star, and then the Knights of the Old Republic style blow up a planet. I can't wait for that. That'll be exciting.
And the Knights of the Old Republic Emperor's Return, even though he doesn't exist there.
Yeah, yeah,
He
right. And then
see,
the
see, it's a time heist movie. The Emperor travels back in time. One of his clones does, and he tries to take over.
Oh, I like this time heist. Yes, and then for the protagonist in the Knights of the Old Republic to be related to the bad guy of the Knights of the Old Republic. Can't wait for that one too. You know, that'll be exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think that even if they go into the future, I don't think that it's gonna be that hard. Sure, it's unexplored territory in the future, but based on what I've seen so far, I'm not expecting a very groundbreaking kind of movie or plot.
Yeah,
line.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying between the two, like, okay, we can do something completely original and new, or we can go back.
But it's not original or new. It's Star Wars. Like Star Wars is a well-established thing.
Original, as in like it's like there's nothing you're basing it off of. You know, like
you're basing it off of Star Wars.
You're making new characters.
Am I-
You're making new stories. You know, new scenarios. Or you can go back to something that has a foundation. That's all I'm saying. You have so many games and so many stories.
What I mean is, like, even this new trilogy is not that new, because, like, when the Force Awakens came out, when Episode 7 came out, it was basically just Episode 4, but rehashed, right? So when the next episode comes out, let's say Episode 10, and they say they put in a new timeline and a new setting, they're just gonna take another episode and just rehash it. They're just gonna take Episode 1 and rehash it. You know, they're gonna go to a planet.
That's assuming that they're gonna do the exact same thing.
They will.
That's assuming.
I can guarantee that.
That's assuming they're gonna do the exact same thing. But for going on the side of hope that they're not going to, I'm just saying that it's much easier to write off of something that's established rather than just trying to write something completely new.
Because even Star Wars was like rehashed of like Flash Gordon and all these other, you know, creative ideas that were thrown about, and those stories were based off of something else, right? Like everything is just a rehash of something else. That's what it is. We're all just mixing up all the old ideas and trying to make it shiny and fresh. That's all it is.
Yeah, but there's things you can do different. Like you can focus on, like you can have like the main protagonist not be someone who's striving to be a Jedi. You know, you can have
like Rey.
Yeah, no, but Rey still ends up being like she still falls into like, you know, like she can use the Force, you know, and she ends up being Palpatine's daughter. However you're looking at it, but she is on the track to be like some sort of Sith Lord or Jedi. But like you could have someone who's really just like a pilot, or maybe or a
like Luke,
or a spicer. But the difference is they're not someone who actually sparks a lightsaber. They're not someone who eventually falls into like the Jedi Order. Like it's there and they know about it, but their main thing is this, but they're still the hero of that story, and they have different challenges.
That's what Rogue One is.
No. We're going to get into Rogue One another time. I told you this.
That's what Rogue One is. That's the movie. That's what the movie is about. It's about a guy who... And that's also what the Solo movie is about.
Yeah, but see, the difference between Solo and Rogue One is, like, Solo is based upon a character we already know. And Rogue One is based upon a scenario where...
A plot hole that we already know.
A plot hole we're already familiar with. I'm not going to get into those movies, but I'm just saying is you can tell different stories. You can tell different stories if you're bold enough and if you're clever enough to write something that can still feel like Star Wars, but still have a different angle to it. I just think thus far Rian Johnson was the only person who I think was brave enough to fully commit to let's try to turn this into something that feels familiar, but has a different direction that really advances what we're going for. But it can be done. I have full faith it can be done, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. Well, you have more faith in Star Wars than I do. I kind of just... I can't wait for the next episode of Star Wars Jedi Assemble versus Age of Sith Revolution Part 2.
The Last Night.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Age of Extinction. Judgment Day.
Dark Side of the Force.
the Half-Blood Prince. Yeah. It's all. I think what was my YouTuber I follow, Spencer Gilbert, once said he was eventually it's just gonna be the movie. Everything's gonna cross over. Everything's gonna be part of everything else. I think that's where this is headed potentially. I hope not though.
I think it's more like have you ever seen Tropic Thunder?
Yes.
With Ben Stiller?
Oh.
Right? Like how they have those like fake movie trailers.
What are they called? Oh, what are those movies called?
It's like Ice to Meet You or something.
Yeah, it's the last one. It's called like something Glacier of Doom.
Scorcher. I think it's called Scorcher.
Glacier
right?
of Doom. Here we go again.
Is it really Glacier of Doom?
Yeah, it's like the winter hits. Then his catchphrase is, "Here we go again, again,
again."
I'd watch those movies. I would.
I think Ben Stiller would be a good fit in the Star Wars universe.
I think it'd sit well. No, but I think that's all I have. I mean, there's other thoughts, but it's just more in the theme of today's podcast. It'd just be more rehash on top of more rehash if I continue to talk about Rise of Skywalker.
I mean, it's not like other people have talked about this movie.
No, we're the first.
I think we're probably the first ones to do it.
We are the pioneers.
Nice. So yeah, that's about it. I don't have anything else to say, so we'll just wrap it up here. I think that's the best way to wrap it up, is to just say we're wrapping it up. So, thanks Levi for coming on to the call, coming onto the podcast, speaking with me about this movie called Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. And regardless of how you feel, just know that I'm right, you're wrong. That's the
All right.
That's the way I'm gonna end this.
All right. Well, I'm gonna try to end a little more positively. Thank you very much for listening to us, guys. If you feel that you're right, you're entitled to your opinion. But
because I am right. But either way, thank you very much for listening. My name is Darren. I've been on the call with Levi. This has been Rice and Spice. Have a great day. Bye bye.